Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new and improved, rebooted, it's not the NextGen Planners Podcast, it is That NextGen Planners Podcast. So when you go away after listening to this episode, you're going to say to someone, Guys, have you heard that NextGen Planners Podcast? How good is that? How good are the new co-hosts? How good is the new format? You can say, because it's That NextGen Planners Podcast, you can see the logic. It's not that deep, actually, is it? But it's not just me anymore. For too long, it's been just me by myself in my home, interviewing a whole host of very, very, very interesting people inside and outside of financial services. And we thought, you know what, enough of that. Enough of the just interviews, one-on-one, one point of view in this discussion. We want to make it bigger. We want to make it better. And we want to bring in some people who will have different perspectives and different ideas of what this industry should look like, what it should be, what we do well, what we don't do so well in some cases. And so we have searched high and low, and we've found the two best people to be co-hosts. And in this episode today, you will be meeting the first of the two brilliant co-hosts who will be coming with us on this journey of That NextGen Planners Podcast. So I'll give the person we're not interviewing today is the other co-host. You can learn more about her next week. But my co-host to interview the co-host for this first ever episode is Clara Metcalf. Welcome to the podcast. But the main man of the moment, the person whose today episode is about, is your other co-host of That NextGen Planners Podcast. It is Taylor Beavis. Welcome.
Well, hello. Hi.
How are you feeling? Yeah. How is this? I mean, to be fair, we should say this isn't the first ever episode we've recorded. We have
passed.
Yeah, we've been doing this all day actually. Yeah. So you're not new to it, but they will be new to you right now.
Yes.
How have you found recording these episodes, being here, talking to other people?
A mixture of things: excited, nervous, but more importantly, just thrilled to be here. So thank you for having me.
Of course. Oh, you've asked some excellent questions. This audience have got a lot to look forward to in the coming episodes. But yes, this one is about you and for our audience to get to know who you are, what you do. So let's start things off with Taylor Beavis. What do you do? Who are you? Where will people know you from?
So people will know me as a financial planner. Mm-hmm. So a financial planner of a small advice company called Universe Financial Advice. And most people know me because I'm that guy that doesn't want a big advice company. Mm-hmm. So I just want to be Universe, a small advice company, and that's what I do. And then aside from that, a few things like this, speaking engagements, industry bits and bobs, and generally that fills my day.
Yeah, definitely. And so the age-old question, how did you get into financial advice? Did you fall into it? That's the typical answer, isn't it? What was it for you?
Well, I didn't plan to be a financial planner. I fell into it. I kind of fell into it, but actually maybe I didn't slightly. So cutting a very, very long story short, I worked as a consultant to lots of different banks when the payment protection insurance scandal happened. And I helped the banks to form teams to remediate everybody in their client bank. So I was training role, effectively. And from there, kind of headhunted, if you like, to train financial advisors. So I'd never heard of the profession at all before. And so I then did my own financial planning qualifications, still didn't really plan to be a financial advisor until one day I'd been going around the country seeing different firms, and I thought, I can do that and I can do it better in some ways. So I decided to set up my own. Amazing.
And what year was that?
That was 2018.
So you've had a good stint so far now of doing that. How has that process looked like for you? What's been the highs, the lows?
So scary at first. I mean, I genuinely started with no experience and no clients, not a single client. At the time, I think looking back, it's interesting. I was thinking before we met today about this and reflecting. It was, I didn't find it scary really at the time. I find it scary now that I have responsibilities and I'm a father and things like that. To make that decision now would be much scarier because I have responsibilities.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had a mortgage, but it was a case of just giving it a go, and that's what I did. So I started with no clients, and I had to learn everything from the ground up. And so the way I guess I did that is by only taking on work that I knew I could competently and comfortably do. So it's very basic stuff to begin with, pensions, ISAs, and the complexity has grown and developed. And I stick to that now, not taking on anything that I can't do well. And that's kind of how I've built it up. A lot of networking. So that's how I got there.
What do you most enjoy about your job?
I enjoy the fact that it might sound a bit cliche, but most of my client meetings are like a therapy session with the client. I really enjoy the bit that I really love doing is taking a client from a position where they have absolutely no idea what retirement means, and they will say to me, who knows? I have no idea. How can you plan retirement? To ending a meeting and they have planned their retirement. So asking questions like, let's imagine today this is your first day of retirement and you get up out of bed, and what does your day look like? And then they think, oh, well, I would get up late. And, oh, great. And I would do this, and I would go and play golf. And that's the bit I love. All of the products and the investments, they're just the tools in my toolkit. So I love the kind of therapy, life coaching, planning side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you could give yourself a bit of advice when you first starting up, what would that have been?
The advice I'd give to myself or to anybody in the same situation, I guess, would be to very quickly surround yourself with people that can help you, and don't be afraid to ask for the help. So I did do that, but over a longer period of time. So I think I would have accelerated faster had I have surrounded myself with people that know things that I don't know, and be happy to admit that I don't know everything and I'm not sure how to do X, Y, or Z. I think that would be the advice I'd give. And we're in an industry, as you all know, yourself, we're in an industry where we are so helpful to each other, actually. When you look at other industries, people are willing to help, and we're all just doing the same roles and trying to make a living. So reach out to people, ask them for help.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm really interested in is that you are very young, very, very young in the grand... Well, especially in the... Well, give me the number of your person. It's very good. You're in an industry that's aging, and you... Clearly, you set up in your 20s. You were a young advisor, a planner, a director of a company in your 20s. How hard was it to be taken seriously? How hard was it to find legitimacy, to prove yourself to clients if you had to do that? What was the experience of being so young in that environment?
The honest answer is with clients, I didn't have to at all. Maybe I'd be lying if I said never had a problem, but I started at 23. I probably had one client that I can think of that had an issue with the age, and they didn't become a client. So one prospective client, sorry, I should have said.
Yeah.
I would say that starting so young, it's not so much proving to clients, it's just about, it's the knowledge gap, going from the textbooks to the real life financial advice and financial planning. That's, I think, what I found was the biggest gap between them. But for me, age has actually only ever been a benefit to my clients, because many clients of mine have said to me, I'm really relieved that you will see me through my retirement, most likely.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have an advisor that's the same age, they may well retire before you if they've done their planning well. So that actually gives comfort to a lot of my clients.
Yeah. Do you find that you have connected with younger clients at all as well? Or do you think actually the main people who are requiring kind of your services at the moment are that older generation? I think
proactive clients that come to me for advice tend to be older because they have a need that they need help with. But naturally, because of my age and my friendship circle, you accumulate friends and friends of friends and people that they know. So I do have a really broad range of clients. I think average age of a client is around 50, but there are some older and there are a lot younger too. So no, it really is quite broad. It depends where the clients have come from.
Yeah. And you said you started with zero.
Literally zero.
No client, which is feels like an incredibly daunting prospect to suddenly wake up one morning and go, right, let's build this thing from the beginning. How did you go about getting clients, and has that shifted over time, and the avenues you've gone to do that,
to get that?
Yeah.
So genuinely 0 clients. It wasn't rocket science how I did it. I didn't have any magic trick. It was this kind of formula. So when I made the decision to become an advisor, and to run my own business, I calculated a run rate of money. I mean, how long can I last on what I have in the bank? And I built that out for my jobs. And I think I had 6 months, there or thereabouts. And after 6 months, I would have no money left. And no savings for that matter. So everything would be gone. And I realised quickly that if I brought my expenditure down, I could last longer. So I did that first. And 6 months maybe became 8 months. And then I built into the equation that if I was to get X number of pieces of new business, it would be 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. And I worked my way forwards to the first year of annual reviews, where I then would have recurring income coming in. So in terms of how I got the clients, I was quite fortunate in the sense that I already had an accountancy practice that did my accounts when I was a consultant, and they were really open to sending some clients my way. Not lots in one, there wasn't loads in one go, but 1 or 2 here or there, very organically growing in that sense. But I had this phrase, which sounds really cheesy when I tell you, which is, what would you do? It's not my phrase, but what would you do if you were 10 times bolder? So I had that in my head all the time. And so what I mean by that is, if you were 10 times bolder, you would just ask your friend that you know needs advice, do you want me to help you out? Do you want to have a chat with me? And that's kind of how I built it. And then it's referrals, and then it's other accountants, it's solicitors, and you get to a point where I now do nothing, and new clients come.
Yeah. It's a great question to ask yourself, but I mean, I don't know about you, Clara, but it feels much harder to actually act upon something like that. There's so many external pressures and, even internal pressures of, but what if this, but what if that? And
it's your self-confidence, isn't it? Because if somebody rejects you, it's quite painful, isn't it? Because it's what you tell yourself that it means.
Yeah, and there's so much rejection actually in those first few years. I do remember, I missed a part in the last bit. I did use some lead generation as well. It was maybe 30% of the way that I accumulated clients. And that is really taxing on you for rejection, because so many people are no. And you just have to get yourself in a frame of mind of, if I do it 10 times and one person says yes, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to get 9 no's and 1 yes. And Richard Branson famously says this, if you say no or you don't like what he does, he just moves on. And that's really hard to be in that frame of mind, but it's the only way I believe that you can succeed. But having said that, I did say earlier on and touch on that when I was very new to starting this, I remember talking to a 35-year-old chap who had a family and wanted to also do it. And I just could not see why he wasn't doing it. Now I'm that.
Yeah.
I now see why.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. It's really, really scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a nice place to kind of rest there for a second while we have a break. Think about what you might do if you're 10 times bolder, everybody listening. But we'll be back with you in just a second. Hello, this is your interval for That NextGen Planners Podcast. I hope you are enjoying the conversation we are having at the moment. If you do want to find out any more information about our brilliant community, you can head over to www.nextgenplanners.co.uk to find out loads more information about all the things that we have going on. Also, if you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can do that on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, for now, I'll hand back over to the guys to get on with the rest of the show. Welcome back, everybody. We are still here at That NextGen Planners Podcast, new and improved That NextGen Planners Podcast with Clara Metcalf and our guest today, fellow new co-host of the podcast, Taylor Beavis. So we are talking all things you, and I think moving is still, relevant, very relevant to your professional life, but your personal life too. Questions around work-life balance. And now, traditionally, these are things we ask women. And how do you balance it all? How do you manage to have a family and be there for them and also work? And what's your tips? What's your secret? We rarely bring that to men. You're somebody who's really put your personal, your family life front and center of what's important to you and your priorities and how you center your life. So I would wonder if you would feel comfortable sharing with everybody how you structure your working life around your family life.
Yeah. So family life, just to give some context, consists of me, husband, and one child. So just to give you the background of that. And we co-parent. So I think that's an important word, and we literally do 50-50. Plus we both work full-time relatively. So the thing I would say is there isn't actually really a structure. We have a loose structure around childcare in terms of he has to go here on a Monday and here on a Tuesday. But the honest answer is we are working quite a lot. And sometimes I'll have my head in a report and decide that actually right now it's time to build a train set because that's just the way that life is at the moment. I think the most important thing for us and that we've tried to keep intact is shutting off from work. There's another complexity that most of us have now, which is working from home. So we work from home, we have a child at home all day long because he's not yet in nursery, and we both run businesses. So that's challenging, but being able to draw that line on where home stops and work stops and home starts is really, really important. So we enforce that sometimes with, eating together. Eating's a great social event, right? So making sure that we don't discuss work when we eat. But equally, work's important. So we make real good time for work and we help each other to do that. In terms of sort of clients, the client aspect of things, they're really understanding. I know lots about my clients. I know pretty much everything there is to know about the way they run their lives generally. But equally, it's a two-way street. So I share bits about my personal life with them. So lots of my clients knew the adoption journey that we went on, would send us emails and cards. And, if I can't make a meeting one day, they're fine with it. And it's just getting yourself into the frame of mind that they are human too. And they have families too. So family first, work second, and clients will happily sort of work around that.
But I also think if you build it, they will work around it if you build a strong relationship, if you've done well with your communication. I think it's a lot of ifs before you get to that point. If you suddenly you didn't have regular communication, you hadn't built that trust, and then you say, sorry, I can't make it today, sorry, I can't come. And then they feel like, oh, he's not here for me, or he's not there. But clearly you've got to a point where you've made your clients feel comfortable, you've developed a strong relationship so that they understand you, they trust you, and they know that you're there for them, but you're somebody who has their priorities in check and are not going to sacrifice that. And I think then you have a great relationship where it's a two-way street, but you're still putting your clients first, because if you didn't put yourself first, you wouldn't be able to be there for them. And
it's give and take, right? So there are times, and I think it's a bit like a relationship generally, it's give and take, and sometimes you have to do something that isn't ideal. So, I might have a day that technically I should be doing childcare, but I ask a friend or a parent to look after him so that I can get a few meetings done. And those clients will know when I talk to them, it's a childcare day today, but I'm fitting this meeting in because it's really important to you that this is done today. And they will think to themselves, well, wow, he's really committed to helping me. And so it's just a two-way street. I can't have it all my way all the time. But as long as we start from the basis of where possible, and I think that's the key bit, where possible, family first, work second.
And as a business owner, have you found it difficult to set boundaries and make sure that you've set appropriate boundaries for having a family as well to support as your clients? Yeah,
I think so. I think as business owners, we don't talk enough about that burnout effect. And I think it's healthy to talk about the fact that when you are running a business and you are the only person running that business, you have every hat that there is possible. You are head of marketing, head of compliance, head of anti-money laundering, head of client experience. You are everything. And that is a lot in your mind to be whirling over when you're eating your pasta in the evening. So ways to do it, everybody's different. Ways to shut off for me is running. Okay, so when I go running, you can't phone me, you can't text me, you can't email me because I'm running. And that's a really nice way of me shutting off. And then if you come back from running into home life, so you transition from work, go for a run, home life, it could be meditation, could be exercise, could be anything you like. But just a break in the day. And that's why I think commuting is so healthy sometimes, because it gives you that 30 minutes to talk in your head about what's gone on and get you ready that when you walk through that door, you are mum, dad, you're home. And I think that's what I try and do. And I don't get it right every day. Most days, probably more often than not, I don't get it right. But I try.
Yeah, I've had a lot of advisors since lockdown who now work from home more make comments about the fact that actually that commute was that break that they needed, and that a lot of people now don't stop at the, if they're 9 to 5, they don't stop at 5 because they don't have to go get their car and drive home. There's no natural reset point to shift into that sort of, this is home time now. And a lot of people have really struggled with that since COVID.
And a lot of my clients as well will specifically want, for example, an evening meeting. Fine with me, no problem at all, as long as it fits around childcare and things. But then you have to be, you have to respect yourself and think, well, if I'm going to work until 7, 8 at night, I need to start a little later. I need to look after myself, and I need to have a lie-in maybe today. We don't all have to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, because if we're working at different times, there's no rules to this game. So quite often I do that. I'd start at 11 because I'm going to work into the evening. It's just not healthy or sustainable to work forever, and work from early hours in the morning to late at night, especially not with children, and especially not if you're the one running the entire business. So looking after yourself, really.
Yeah.
I think, there's so much more I want to ask you, but we're swiftly, again, we keep, I'm going to admit, these podcast episodes are recorded, we keep running out of time. We've got too much to say. But there's, you've got a 2-year-old now.
Yeah.
Looking forward, what would you like to change about this industry? If your son in 20 years' time also wanted to move into this profession, also might want to set up his own business, what do you hope has changed? What do you look forward to in the future? What do you want to be different?
Very good question. Hard one. Okay, so I would love a few things. I would love there to be more opportunities for him and other individuals of his age at that time to get into this industry, and not so much just get into the industry, because I think there are loads of good avenues now, and that's definitely improving, but to understand the industry. Before I got into this, I didn't really know what a financial planner was. So I think education around that would be great. And if I could imagine the industry in a different way, I would imagine a scenario where in this country, this is more of a cultural change, that talking about money is accepted and is regularly sort of done, so that, people do talk about their financial plans and what they're planning to each other. I think that happens a little bit down the pub at the moment, but in a more structured way, I'd like them to speak about it. So I guess what I'm saying is, like we have services for health or mental health, I want there to be that for wealth.
Yeah, great point.
What do you think we can be doing as an industry more to help to get to there?
I think it starts in school. It starts in the education piece at school. I can't believe that I don't know, I can't speak for you, went through the education system and didn't know any of this stuff. So it starts there, and that's, I guess, where the interest starts in relation to, well, what jobs are there out there that deal with the things that I've learned at school. So I think education is really, really important. And I think that actually us as individuals in this industry have a responsibility to be the representatives, to attend careers fairs on a voluntary basis and show people what we do, because we're just busy squirreling away and doing our job. But I think it's really important that we show people what this industry is like, because most of us have fallen into it and learnt it rather than been told about it before.
Absolutely. And the good thing is with you, Taylor, is we're going to hear more about your opinions. We're going to hear more about your views. We don't have to fit it all into one podcast. This was just to give our audience a little sneak preview, a little taster of what is to come for the rest of this podcast. And next week, you'll get the exact same with Clara. So you'll have that to look forward to where you can meet the other one of our brilliant co-hosts. But for now, thank you so much, Taylor, for sharing your experiences. Thank you for joining us on this journey. It's going to be an exciting one. Thank you very much to my excellent co-host, Clara.
Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.